What's going on, Property Hustlers? With the holidays coming up, we wanted to release an episode where we talk about what we believe is important for this holiday season. It's important to understand why we got into real estate, the importance of family, the ability to live life on our own terms and make decisions the way we want to make it. And with everything coming up, we want to make sure that we put out what we're doing, what Christmas means to us, and how we're going about it. Is any of you buying presents for your tenants?
Well, I haven't thought about that yet, but after this discussion, I'm looking better.
No, because it's kind of a thing. Like, honestly, I give alcohol to all my tenants. Like, I usually buy like a bottle of wine or some hard liquor.
Last year,
and then you get a call from your tenant saying that there's a hole in the wall.
Yeah, it was your fault because you gave me the booze. Last year, I have a tenant that lives close to a bar restaurant that I really like, and so we got them a gift certificate because it's something that we love. Share that love with them, and they could go there with their family to celebrate the holidays.
Especially with tenants, right? It needs to be a little bit more personable, right? It cannot just be something like if I wanted to kind of just give it out to other people, it's like it probably would be just a gift card.
Yeah, by the way, because we have a corporate level of management.
And that's why I'm thinking about if I know the tenants have some like children's or whatever, then it would be a gift card for IKEA, right? Because I know that always comes in handy. Oh, yeah. Right, people who are like who don't have children's, then it's definitely coffee.
Honestly, the only tenants I buy like a bottle for are my OG tenants, like tenants who know me personally from when I was self-managing. But corporate tenants, there's a little bit of a disconnect. So it is sometimes gift cards, Starbucks, Tim Hortons, whatever it is, like that type of thing. We'll also get some kind of gifts just as a form of thoughtfulness and appreciation for people we work with, realtors, vendors, like that type of thing.
Some people maybe won't agree with this. But what I really like is if, like I did with that tenant last year with that bar and grill, that's a place that I really like. Maybe you would like it too. And that actually does come from the heart because it's not just something generic. It's like, hey, this place means something to me. I really like the Nashville chicken sandwiches that they have there. I want you and your family to go check it out too. So it can be something that you like, that you want to share.
An amazing family tradition that I always reflect on that I love was that my father would always get us live Christmas trees. We would take these live Christmas trees, decorate them, and by the time Christmas is done, we would take them, chop it up in the backyard, and burn it. I think when I say it like that, it sounds a little odd, but it was fun. It smelled great. It didn't go to like, we didn't have to pay to dump it or anything, and it was like tradition. And it felt nice. So it was like, burning the Christmas tree afterwards. I feel like saying you're burning the Christmas tree sounds like weird. It's a positive thing for me.
It's the experience that you're looking forward to.
Dude, you know what? I think some people have like some odd traditions, and I get that when I say that out loud, I think it sounds a little bit odd. But
yeah.
Honestly,
by the way, just so you guys know, like your Christmas seems very consistent, literally like every single year, right? You're always looking forward to it. You feel like it was a hassle. Right, for you, it's all about burning the tree. But for me, it's always different. Like when I was young, when I was growing up, I was always looking forward for the gifts, right? And then we always play a game of putting the bottle around the doors and windows because we're trying to catch that big guy who's dropping the gifts into our bedroom, and never successful, right? But that was like kind of like my memory growing up.
Let's talk about the Christmas holidays as it pertains to real estate investors. People who are in the market and who are doing things in real estate, one of the biggest problems everybody feels is how to disconnect, how to be in the moment. Being present I think is a challenge. So how do you guys disconnect yourselves a little bit so that you can be in the moment for the holidays? Daniel, why don't you start?
I haven't really been in the position where I've needed to disconnect because I guess this is since like my first year within real estate in the entrepreneurial space. Even outside of Christmas, like it doesn't matter what type of holiday it is, even if it's a birthday party or whatever the case is, I always have a hard time disconnecting. But I feel like with the experience, and I want to actually hear how you guys are able to handle it, especially when it comes to family related stuff. I'm doing this because I want to be able to have more time for family, but I also find that sometimes it's hard to disconnect when it actually matters, right? But I kind of want to shift that question back to you guys because you guys definitely have more experience than I do. And during the holiday season, like, are you guys truly able to just like stop working and like just not be in the grind?
Honestly, it is tough because I've struggled with that exact same thing. We're always setting goals, even at, in December, sometimes there's great deals to be had from a real estate space. So we're constantly looking and working when maybe we should be taking some time back. But when it comes to actual family time and having focus, I think that's when it actually is easy. Now, maybe our minds go through it a little bit and we're thinking too much about business when we want to be present. It can be, though, as simple as putting your phones away. I know this is something that is almost elementary at this point, but really we do it. We check our phones because we get notifications. We want to see what other people are doing, even on Instagram, from a professional standpoint. Well, as professional as you can be on Instagram.
We're not stalking, yeah.
So I think I think being aware of what you're doing is super important. And when you're with your family, especially if you have kids, they're going to see what you're doing and how you're acting during the holidays. So you can keep that in the back of your head. How do I want to be? Do I want to be distracted by everything else going on outside when it comes to business that I can have the rest of the year to deal with? Or do I want to be present and be an example to the young kids around me or my own kids that when it's Christmas time and it's family time, I'm dialed into you and you only, and nothing else matters, especially the money making stuff in the background.
Or the money struggle stuff in the background.
That's true too. Absolutely.
I have a different take on that, just so you know. Starting out, I think you have to make a conscious decision on what you need to do, including holidays. Because we actually, as a business owner, real estate investor, sometimes things get very tough. And when things get very tough, it's really hard to actually be, be present with your families and all that stuff. If you're finding yourself unable to focus, spending the quality time with the family, I actually at some point decided I'm going to disconnect, leave the holiday, leave the family, and just go deal with that thing. Going 100%. Once that gets resolved, I go back. And the truth is that it will offend some people, but you kind of have to pick your mental battle, right? One is to be totally distracted in a family setting, or you can handle that and then go back, offend a couple of people, but at least at that moment, you're able to, spend some quality time with them, right? But that's starting out. Now, after you have a bit of options, then you always have to make lots of effort to make sure that they feel like you're actually present.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we're out there, we're traveling, we're looking at deals and all that stuff, right? Sometimes those type of time does kind of take up the family time. So we're compensating during the holiday season or even birthdays.
You know what? I think that's a very Chinese-based perspective, I think. What do you think?
Maybe, because even my mom understood that. My mom knew that I shouldn't be home. Like the moment that I'm home too much, she would actually kick me out. She's just like, you gotta do something a little bit more like active, right? Change your energy and then focus on. Yeah, because my mom told me that back in the day, she's like, I was never home. I came home to eat and sleep. Early in the morning, I'm out. And then she actually, at some point, she told me that's what made her parents feel comfortable, or not comfortable, feel confident in her abilities to survive. And then now I'm thinking about the best way to give back, right? Thinking about what my parents want from me is always spending a little bit more time with each other. But they need to know that I'm progressing in some way, in some sort of career development, right? In business, in order to feel like, okay, now we can let go, we can go travel, we can go do our thing, because pain doesn't need our attention anymore. It might be an Asian thing.
Okay, so here, I got a story for this,
I have
actually.
some thoughts, but I'll let you go.
My brother's wife, she's Canadian. Christmas is very important to her, especially because she's very much about like the classic traditions, right? Even like when she does the dinners and everything like that, it's very like Martha Stewart kind of thing, right? We all enjoy it, and it's amazing. There was one Christmas where something happened in the property, and somebody called my brother to go and deal with it. It was a job where he had to remove something because a tree fell down, okay? And it hit the property. It was something that he was going to essentially make like $2,000, $3,000 somewhere in there in like 4 hours. But he had to leave on Christmas Day. And now he has a decision to make, right? So like, what would you do in that situation, right? He was just like, yeah, listen, I'm going to go do this. And Amy was like, no. There's like only a handful of days out of the year where I want you and you need to be here with your family. It's a struggle. People make these decisions all the time. Actually, so long story short, he actually didn't go do it. Right. And he decided that he was going to stay, and, we passed it off to somebody else that we knew. But there's sometimes opportunity beckons and you have to make a decision. And I don't think there's anything that's right or wrong about it. It just depends on like how you negotiate the dynamic with your family, right? There's people who spend all year round with their family, and when you do that, it actually doesn't matter if you necessarily spend the Christmas day with them. Maybe you want to spend it alone and you want to relax, and if you spend all year with your family, I think that's okay, right? So you have to be real with yourself and understand what is the relationships that you have, and who are the people in your life, and how do you want to spend that time with them, right? You have to balance out how that impacts and matters.
The biggest thing is, like, especially you two, you guys are very goal oriented, especially when it comes to my family. Like, I have to be present sometimes, right? And sometimes I find it a little bit difficult because I don't know, like, maybe I'm like, I don't know, wired different or something like that. But honestly speaking, it's very hard to be present when I know I should. But typically speaking, like Ping mentioned, like his mom wants him either, if he's not productive, he's out of the house, something kind of like that. For me, it's like I will actually get in trouble if I don't stop doing what I'm doing. But honestly, like throughout the year, as I'm kind of in this transition into my life right now, they've sort of understood. And sometimes like I have to say no to like going out with them and stuff like that over the weekend because I have to spend the weekend working, the time that needs to be spent with family, like we take it very, very seriously. Like it's not like we can't do it.
Do you have to do that on the exact same day, or can you do that on a regular basis? If you just build that into your schedule, okay, this Friday I'm gonna go home, surprise them, right? Spend some really quality time. If you fulfill that part of responsibility, occasionally on holiday where you have to kind of take off for emergency matter,
Yeah.
I think it should be understood.
I think it always ends up being about communication. And so throughout the year, if you're on the same page as your significant other or your family about the importance of your work, and still throughout the year, like Andrew said, making a regular effort to connect versus waiting until the holidays, it's a lot easier to have that discussion to say, hey, I've got an opportunity. I know it's not the opportune time, but I'm going to run out for a couple hours. I'm going to make a little extra money. And the reason I'm doing it isn't for me. It's actually for the family. But you can't just say that. You have to live that every day, and you have to live it throughout the year. And I think that comes with expectations that are on the table. One thing to think about is I actually had today, before I came here, there was a chance to go do pictures with Santa. And I've got a bunch of things going on right now with my life. However, I know that my wife loves Christmas, and I love that she loves Christmas, and it makes her happy whenever we can do stuff together as a family with Christmas. And so I blocked that in my schedule, shut my phone off. I think I shut my phone off or put it on silent. And I made sure that we met Santa, we did pictures, and I wasn't looking at my phone at all. I wasn't even thinking about business, because what I was thinking about was in the moment, how happy she was, how happy my son was taking pictures and doing this for the first time. And in turn, it actually rewarded me by doing that far more than any business transaction could have done. And so sometimes when you turn it around like that, think about the other people, how happy it makes them. You're going to feel better in the process. And then the business doesn't matter and it doesn't get in the way.
For sure.
Yeah, I think you make an excellent point, because a lot of people lose sight of why we start to do what we're doing, right? We get into real estate as a form of as a vessel to liberate us from certain, let's just say, shackles of life, from the 9 to 5 that for some people just grinds them down, right? And not to say that all 9 to 5s will do that, but like that's the reason why a lot of people choose to get into real estate, because it has it can give you a little more control of what's happening with you. And a lot of times we do that because we want to spend more time with people we care about, with friends, with family, with our kids. It's unfortunate when that becomes put to the side. The real estate as a vessel almost becomes the objective, when this wasn't the objective. This wasn't the point. The point is we're not that interested in real estate. Real estate is fascinating, yes, but we're not interested in real estate to the point where as kids we weren't thinking to ourselves, hey, we want to be real estate investors.
Yeah, it's what it can bring you, not having a 9 to 5 job. When my son was born, I've been able to work from home ever since, have a flexible schedule and be there every step of the way, which is so special and why we do things. Some people get into the trap where they're doing all the real estate, they're doing all the business for their family. And in the process, they're actually taking away time from their family because they get to keep telling themselves, well, I'm doing this for my family. Mm-hmm. Well, you can't let it overtake so much that all of a sudden you're putting your family aside. That's counterproductive and the opposite reason as to why we're doing this stuff at all. Sometimes it takes a reality check.
And I think what we're talking about here is, and Ping and I talk about this a lot, is compartmentalization. Being able to compartmentalize things that you're dealing with every day so they don't end up consuming you. If you're going to be with your family, be present. If you're going to be at work, be present. Whatever it is that you're doing. And that's where when Ping's saying that if something is all consuming, you can't get away from it, maybe you have to just deal with it. Right? Make the problem go away.
Or like what you say, shut your phone so you don't even know there's an emergency.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not even the phone. It is just the brain that starts going, starts cooking, getting creative ideas. How do I attack this differently? And so at the end of the day, again, it comes from within to be like, okay, I want to be here, not just for my family, but for myself. And so I've got to push that all aside, and it takes work. And then you can be present.
Let's talk about something light here. I want to talk really quickly about presents, okay? Because Christmas is coming up. Everybody's looking to what it is that they should be buying, the people that are notable in their lives, but also not as notable. As real estate investors, I know people who will extend who they buy presents to beyond just their immediate family and friends, maybe to people who are significant in terms of relationships. We're all real estate professionals. We work with people. Who do you buy presents for? Do you buy presents for your tenants? Do you buy presents for people you work with? You're a contractor? You're an HVAC guy? Who are you buying presents for? Your realtor who helped you get the house. Like, who are you getting presents for?
Okay, so the first thing, I heard one word in your question and it said should. And I think we need to get rid of that when it comes to Christmas, especially with buying presents, because I don't think there's anyone we should be buying gifts for. It comes down to who we could be buying gifts for, you know? And it's not that you should buy gifts for your tenants, but you could. And it certainly is a really nice thing and a goodwill gesture. Same with your property managers or your realtors, mortgage brokers, any of your power team members that have helped you to get to where you are. Hey, it's not a bad idea. It goes a long way. It's super appreciated. And of course, it might catch them off guard. And even if it's out of the goodness of your heart and you spend $20 on a Starbucks gift card and text it to them because that's super easy to do.
Yeah.
Who knows? The next opportunity that comes their way, you might be the first person that they think about. And it was all out of goodwill and just being a kind person because you could during the holidays.
Gift is the best when it comes unexpected, right? So I completely agree with you. And I think I also got, I don't know about you, but like I got that from Alex Hormozi.
Oh,
right?
okay. Yeah.
Replace a should, because really shouldn't be a word. Shouldn't. Right.
Sorry, Andrew, not to just pick apart your question. It was just, that idea that like, who could I get a gift for this year?
There's language that is ingrained into us, and it becomes difficult to form. And language is going to influence how you perceive things. And the truth is that holidays, depending on especially the size of your family, man, big families, honestly, they end up coming with a degree of stress, especially if you have to host. My mother used to find Christmas very stressful. And because of that, we had a bit of a family tradition. We would not stay at home on Christmas Day. Now, is anything open on Christmas? Is anything open on Christmas?
You guys Chinese restaurants?
Chinatown's open on Christmas. So you know what we used to do? On Christmas Day, we used to go for Chinese food because she was thinking about it, and she's like, you know what? Every Christmas, I have to cook, I have to clean, I have to host. It ends up being more work. And we all have a great time, but she's not necessarily having a great time. So why do we have to do that? I mean, it didn't matter to us whether she did it or whether or not we went to a restaurant. So guess what happened? We started going to Chinese restaurants. That was an interesting thing. And she used to joke and say, no, Chinese people don't care if it's a holiday. That's the time to make money, right?
Man, I never had that issue growing up.
Really?
No, we're always out. Restaurants and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, maybe it is a Chinese.
Pink's balling. That's why.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I'm like a little angry that, man, this is such a good business opportunity. So how come they're not open? Right?
Yeah.
Even shopping mall, why is it closed at 6 p.m. on a regular?
That's when people need it. Imagine if
Exactly.
places that are open Christmas Day probably doing good business.
Yeah.
Think about it. They're probably making a killing on presents.
Also, when it comes to presents, it's interesting because there is a tough time with the economy right now. Some people are getting squeezed, so money isn't necessarily flowing everywhere. And when we think about gifts, oftentimes we think about buying stuff. Whether it is a gift card or it's some sort of token of appreciation, it's always got this monetary value behind it. Things that definitely go a long way. And I know for me, if I get these kind of things, they do matter. Simple, free gestures just to show people you care and that you're thinking about them. Now, not everyone's going to be as receptive of something you didn't spend money on, but imagine even something as simple as an audio message that
I was going to say that.
Thanks someone for everything you've done with them that year, tells them your appreciation, maybe a story recap of something that you remembered from the year together. That actually could go a long way. It's free. It just takes a little bit of time and it shows the person you care, because when we're giving gifts, we just want to show people that we care about them. That's why we do it. We don't do it because we have to. It's because we can. And so something free like that, audio message, video message, even an email, something just to acknowledge someone, it could be impactful.
Does any of you guys ever get from realtors or anybody those things, those messages or even those cards, but it's kind of obvious that they're somehow auto-generated?
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that?
No, you just need to make sure that it's not automated.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But
Like
how do you
communication
feel?
cannot be automated.
Exactly. But how do you feel receiving that?
Then I'll be like, I will just skip it, right? But for
Okay.
sure today you're gonna get an audio message from me, man.
You don't have to commercialize, right? The thoughtfulness, right? Remembering somebody is a pretty big deal, and it makes an impression. Actually, one of my good friends, I remember his birthday, and I wished him a happy birthday, and I was like, oh man, yeah, I just remembered there was this today, and I didn't get you anything. And then he said to me, he's like, no, honestly, the fact that you remember, people have their lives, people have everything going on. The fact that you remembered me is a big deal, and that is a big deal. So when you think about people, don't think that thinking about them is a minor thing. Probably you think about people, but they just don't know it. So it really is just a matter of showing it. I think that's what Christmas is about.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't even have to wait till Christmas. People do this all the time. We wait until Christmas to give a shit about other people.
Mm.
If you're thinking about it in your car driving somewhere about a time you had with an old friend. Most people think about it, they smile, they move on. What if, and I'm not a poster boy for this by any means, I've not done this as regularly as I'd like to. What happens if you get home, you send that person a message and say, hey, I was just thinking about that time we were recording a podcast at Christmas and Andrew had a hat and made him look ridiculous. That might be a cool thing for them to get, receive, laugh at, and that way you can kind of share that moment again and not have to wait until it's actually Christmas time to show people that you're thinking about them.
It's funny you mentioned that because my cousin literally just sent me a picture from last year's Christmas where I think I was
That's
at my
pretty
family.
funny.
Yeah, that just happened literally just before we started this conversation where I think we went out, drank a little bit too much, and I think I laid down on his carpet and I was just laying there all funny in front of his fireplace. He took a picture of me. He sent it to me. He said, love you, cousin. Always thinking about you.
It's amazing. And
That-
you told him that.
Yeah.
So obviously it made enough of an impact in that moment to share that with someone else around you. It's positive vibes, and that's what Christmas is all about.